The humans were a perplexing enemy by any measure. Despite being relative newcomers to the galactic stage, they had fought the combined fleets of the Galactic Union and the Deshkar to a standstill for over 2 galactic millicycles, a feat unheard of by a species so completely outmatched both in resources and technology. Fleet Commander Riek considered the history of the conflict as her armada descended upon the blue-green planet ahead. Granted, at first the Union had only invested a token force in subjugating this strange species, and the Deshkar had only recently joined the fight, selling their allegiance at a high price. This limited early response had proven to be the Union's undoing. Although the humans were woefully behind in technology, preferring to rely on mass drivers and missiles as armaments, both weapons that travelled at such low speeds that no vessel equipped with a gravitic sublight drive and directional thrust had real difficulty avoiding them, the humans had had some tricks up their sleeve. Firstly, they had defied the usual rules of engagement in several egregious ways. They didn't declare their fleets before an engagement and saw nothing dishonourable in hiding or disguising ships or weapons as refuse. Secondly, by laying traps, rigging ships to explode once boarded, and later by generous deployment of small, hard-to-detect mines throughout their systems, they had scored many a victory. Thirdly, the humans had a clear biological edge. Their pilots were quick, seemed to be able to intuit various aspects of zero-G warfare that others required heavy computer assistance to replicate, and thus had managed to employ close-range fighters to great effect, somewhat negating the drawback of slow munitions, and this physicality also enabled them to absolutely destroy any Union forces in ground combat and during boarding actions. And finally, their weapons. Even if easy to avoid in one-on-one engagements, proved troublesome when they finally struck in a decisive engagement. After their underhanded tactics had, through attrition, reduced the Galactic Union flotilla to only a handful of the most powerful ships, mostly without escorts or support vessels, they engaged what remained of the expeditionary forces with every ship at their disposal. And, as it turns out, when the zone of engagement is absolutely covered in live munitions from all directions, it doesn't matter if they are slow-moving if there is nowhere to move out the way to. And that was how they defeated that first expeditionary force. The Galactic Union hadn't even considered that this might happen. They had no contingency. And while they scrambled to call in a secondary force from other assignments, time passed, and time was on the human side. They used that time to interrogate prisoners, to reverse engineer Union technology and adapt it to their needs. Their advantages included a penchant for heavy armor, now augmented by energy fields. They also found a way to combine their own philosophy of projectile weaponry with Union lasers to create a sort of plasma lance, one that they insisted on calling a phaser, apparently for some cultural reason. A weapon that combined the best of both philosophies, not quite as fast as lasers, but by no means so slow as to be laughable. They had also used the more compact FTL drives of the Union, as well as the principles behind Union antimatter production to mass-produce faster-than-light antimatter torpedoes. These three innovations had the benefit of being able to be quickly retrofitted onto existing ships, and by the time the second Union flotilla arrived, they met much staunch resistance. Since then, the humans had at first advanced slowly and surely, probably hoping to force the Union into a negotiated peace, but failed to realize how far they were from truly essential Union holdings or major population centers. Still, they captured production facilities and viable colony worlds, especially for the durable human physiology. Then the counterpush had begun. The humans were undeniably intelligent and creative, and uncontested demons in personal combat, but by this time the Galactic Union had realized this was no backwater skirmish that they could handle without true dedication, and suddenly the humans found themselves fighting the true might of the galaxy's apex polity. And no single race can stand against a power that encompasses a full galactic quarter for long. And yet, the counter-offensive was slow. The humans were strategic to a fault, for the most part, abandoning and evacuating fledgling colonies or mineral-poor worlds when threatened, and fighting tooth and nail for population centers of production, and mining what was necessary for the war effort. But Riek has spotted an anomaly in their defensive pattern. They overinvested resources in the defense of a few worlds that had no discernible value to the war effort. Most of them sparsely populated, with almost no heavy industry or mineral deposits to speak of. She had discovered that they all had some features in common, and had employed those to find other worlds to attack, to force the humans to overinvest, and perhaps to discover what they were hiding. Surely there was a reason. The fleet was now in position to rain death and destruction down on the planet below. It had no planetary defences, no shields, minimal garrison, only a single starbase in orbit, more of an arrival point than a defender, as it was easy to simply time an attack for when it was on the opposite side of the planet. Vrelix was about to give the order to attack when there was a sudden shudder of a massive jump into the system. At least 2 full human battle groups had arrived to join the fight, one of them led by a massive dreadnought-class battlecruiser. Vrelix was surprised that the human fleet was initiating communications, as usually they wasted no time to employ the element of surprise to full effect. "This is Fleet Admiral Nikombe of the battlecruiser Endeavour. I speak for the Soul-Celled Democracy." The dark-skinned human, a female of the species if Vrelix wasn't mistaken, was either speaking Union Basic flawlessly, or using some very advanced translation software. "Though this war has been long and many regrettable events have taken place, we implore the Union fleet to abandon its new strategy of attacking civilian targets to the exclusion of legitimate military targets. When you came for Ursa Minor Beta, it could have been an anomaly, but then you attacked Floston, and the pattern was clear." Vrelix was perplexed momentarily. If these worlds were truly civilian targets, then why invest so much in their defense? "These worlds are unique for their beauty, and the value we find in them in times of peace, for recreation and distraction. If you proceed with your attack on Risa, know that humanity or its allies will show you no quarter and no mercy. This is our last resort, and we aim to defend it."